welcome. Hello, it's Mark, or Mac if you follow me. You'll know that I'm originally from Cardiff, that's why I've got Mac as my profile name. That's what they call me in Cardiff, where I'm from. Today we're going to have a look at scalar with reason, and basically everyone says no, you can't do it. We want reason to receive MIDI from scalar, because you use scalar to make chords and arpeggios and stuff like that with scale. So I'm going to show you how it's done. Unfortunately, you need to use additional software. You may well have a copy of Ableton Live Lite, because everyone gets a copy of it with every piece of hardware. Usually comes free with everything, so you may well have Ableton Live Lite. You could probably use Bitwig with this, or any other DAW that supports MIDI out, or yeah, it's just Reason doesn't do it. Anyway, let's go through this. First of all, loopmidi. I've installed loopmidi and I've put two ports. Port F, I've called it F, which is from Reason, and port T, which is to Reason. And once I've added those in, I basically just put my name in, the name for the port that I want, click plus, and then that's it. So loopmidi is now running with the two ports, the from and the to. Right, let's focus on Reason. First of all then, we have got a MIDI out device, and you can see there that the out port is the loopmidi port F, so from Reason out. And let's just test it with the piano keys. Okay, so there we are. Right, so in Ableton now, let's go to Preferences, and we can tweak the MIDI here. So we've actually got loopmidi port F in is tracked, and loopmidi port T is tracked for out on the output. So we have got our scalar. There's our scalar, which I love. If you listen to my music, you'll recognize some of the sequences. In this case, this is Future Bass 7. I've picked a few chords from. I've tweaked that last one, but that's what I used in the interview in pajamas, so we'll see. Anyway, so scalar is going to give us the chord rather than the originating note. I've made sure that I've captured or bound MIDI to, in this case, to the pattern that I've got. You could bind it there or there, either way. Right, so let's have a look. So in scalar then, we've got our key that we want, our scale that we want, and in Ableton we've got MIDI from loopmidi port F, so that's from Reason. We're monitoring, and we've currently got the sound on because we want to hear the sound from scalar. Eventually we're going to pass it through back to Reason. We're going to put a synth or keys or something like that. So we've got a second MIDI channel which is taking MIDI from scalar, and it's outputting it. Oh no, it's the scalar 2 channel, and it's outputting it to loopmidi port T. Now Reason usually responds to all devices, so it's going to respond to this. Now we, in this case, want to trigger scalar, so let's do that from Reason. Alright, so that's working correctly in terms of Ableton's now receiving MIDI through loop MIDI. So I'm just going to record that. I've got a beat in here, Pacer 113. Okay, right, so that's currently sending from the MIDI out device to Scalar, but I want to receive the MIDI back, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to add in radical keys, and I'm going to use that instrument. Now I've recorded my MIDI out, so I no longer need to use the keyboard. So I'm just going to play and let's see what we get first of all. Okay, we're still hearing the scalar there. What we're going to try and do now, let's just see whether we got audio on the keys. Yes, we do. So let's now explore how we get the MIDI into Reason. I'm just going to click some buttons and hope for the best. Monitor. So this is where I monitor the input. Okay, so at the moment I've got two things happening. I'm still listening to the audio from Scalar. If I mute that, I've now got no audio coming from Scalar, and MIDI is going out to my default keys in Reason. So I'm just going to focus on that sound for a bit. Put a bit of phaser and I want some ambience on it. Alright, so that's working. Let's just go back to Ableton and explore things that might not make it work. If I don't monitor MIDI, then it won't come through to Reason. If I don't arm the track, it won't come through to Reason. So you need these two selected. Right, so let's go back to Reason. So hopefully I am receiving chords now. My MIDI out was sending those single notes. I should be receiving chords back. And how I'm going to just check that is I am going to record on default keys on my keys. So let's have a look. Okay, so there we are. You can see the chords there as I played them. Now I don't need that MIDI track anymore. I could delete it, or I'll just mute it. So now I'm just going to play. So let's just have a recap. So I've got loop MIDI running. Where's my loop MIDI? It hides usually. There it is. From Reason to Reason. In here, it's coming from Reason, and we're monitoring. That's so that we're monitoring the MIDI. The MIDI track then has got MIDI from Scalar 2 channel, and it's sending out to loop MIDI port T2, and that then is going to give us our sound here at this point. So make sure it's armed, make sure monitoring is on auto, and make sure you're not muted. So if you thought that was useful, great. I'm going to save that set. The Patreon guys, or just message me, can have that, and also the Reason file. I won't include the licensed pack, but I will give some info where to get it from. So that's the reason and scalar file. So I hope you find that useful. Yeah, check out my music, Mairk, M-A-I-R-K, and hopefully this information has been useful for you. All the best. Bye.